Okie doke. So my name is Liliana, and I'm the Community Outreach and Events Coordinator for the Maintainers. And the Maintainers is a global research and action network interested in the concepts of maintenance, infrastructure, repair, and the myriad forms of labor and expertise that are necessary to sustain our human-built world. Feels really nice personally also to be in a Zoom space where many of us hold those values. So if you'd like to learn more about the Maintainers, you can check out the link I just put in the chat. And this will lead you to the about the Maintainers as well as our code of engagement, which is kind of our like community practice values. And part of what we do at the Maintainers is a movement fellowship, a year-long fellowship that advances the movement for maintenance, thinking, and action, and is composed of fellows whose maintenance, repair, and care work are at the forefront of what we feel is really necessary. And so today, your host is Mathew Lubari. We are so excited to have you. And Mathew is in the cultures track of this fellowship. And yeah, hence the name of this event, the essence of repair culture. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. This event will be recorded for our collective reference. And I was telling everyone in the Zoom that we have had a really big interest in this event. And we know that because of time of day, having global events, it sometimes causes issue for time of day, but that this will be recorded so that we can collectively refer back to it. And again, we're doing this collective gathering of the different repair networks across the world that you may know of. So please feel free to add to that. Our agenda for today is this little welcome. Mathew will share and welcome you all. Romeo will share. Purna, Moretta will share a video, and then James. And so we'll have each presenter share their piece, and then we'll do a questions and answers with the community all together to close us out. So without further ado, Mathew, I'm going to spotlight you, and you will take it over from here.
Hi, everyone. I'm really super excited to see you guys all. My name is Mathew Lubari. I'm a repair practitioner and also an activist, but I also happen to be a co-founder and executive director for Community Creativity for Development, a refugee founded and youth-led initiative that is trying to popularize the essence of repair in the displacement settings in Rhino-Cam refugee settlement. But not only that, this year we also moved back home to South Sudan, where I come from. And we are starting also to establish a repair cafe center, which is aimed at creating awareness on the value of repair and maintenance of our valuable items that we have in our hands. And I'm also a member of the AskNet network and the Geek network, but also the Restarters community, which is a global community of repairers, being managed by the Restart project. And in this occasion, I'm sitting as a maintenance fellow for the year 2023. Happy to be part of the maintenance movement. And I'm doing research on repair cultures. So in the maintenance movement fellowship, my task is under in displacement settings. And my main interest, especially for this event, is to understand how repair cultures are and what are the things that people, have countries, and also what are the gender gaps in relation to participation to repair. And this is especially the key interest that, I'm interested to to also to gather from you, the audience, or from the people who have joined today. But yeah, I'm really very grateful. Our work as Community Creativity for Development, we do trainings on repairs and maintenance of general stuff. We are not so specific, but at the start we started by the focus is on electronics, but over the years when we were trying to do the repairs, we find that there were many other things that in the hands of the community that needed to be fixed or to be maintained, and we found ourselves accommodating many of those items during our sessions that we do. We carry out repair cafe events, not frequently, but it's like action-based kind of repair cafes that we do. And over the years, we found out that the repair cafes are very valuable kind of activities within refugee settings, because one of the most important things is that it brings the refugees together and to share knowledge and skills, but as well promote peace and peaceful coexistence. Because when we came in 2016 to the settlement due to instabilities, we came with different mindsets. People were traumatized, but over the years, when we started the repair cafe activities, mindset of people were changed, and they all tried to stay friendly. Yeah, and that is a very positive thing that we had encountered over the years. But of course, our major aim of doing the repairs is to cut carbon emission, or as well to reduce the amount of items that goes into landfill by ensuring that the life of those items are prolonged, especially the electronic items. Yeah. So that we can all live in a positive and sustainable environment. But I'm super excited and, looking forward to learning from you all, and as well to hear a lot of questions regarding maybe what we do, and as well getting to connect and network with everyone within here. And thank you so much. I'm really so grateful and to be here in this event. So today I will be your event lead in this occasion, and Liliana from the maintenance is as well doing the hosting of the event. And Liliana, I'm so grateful to you, the maintenance team, for having selected me all the way from Uganda, from the refugee camp, to be a maintenance fellow. This shows a great kind of networking and collaboration and working towards solving global issues, which is something so positive. Otherwise, thank you so much, and looking forward to giving opportunities to our speakers of today from the different countries, where we have Romeo from Uganda, Purna from India, and James from the UK, as well Maretta from Australia. So we have brought together different people from across the world to share experiences and insights in relation to repair cultures. So it will be a lot of learning, and we hope that this event will be so fun and you guys will enjoy it and learn from it. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Matthew. I'm going to remove your spotlight and add yours, Romeo, as I get your Zoom set up. So let me know if you can see this.
Yeah,
Great.
I think, oh yes, I think I can see that. Yeah.
And does this look okay from everyone else's perspective? Can we just get a little thumbs up or a yes in the chat? Okay, wonderful. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Liliana. I feel so privileged to be able to be here. Actually, thank you so much, Matthew, to be able to invite me here. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, different time zones. It's always interesting having body from different ends. Yeah, so I'm very deeply honored to be able to be here to explore this entire captivating topic around the issues of repair culture. And here today, I'll be discussing about its connection with refugee communities. So Matthew has spoken something that is super, super amazing here on how they've been doing repair programs with refugees. And today, I'll also be looking at how the Issues of Repair Cafe and its connection with refugee communities. So my name is Romeo, Ronald Lomora, and I come from South Sudan. I'm a South Sudanese refugee living in Uganda. I'm also the team leader of the Open Knowledge South Sudan, an organization that is tailored to enable access and facilitation of open knowledge. And of course, whereby open skills like the repairs come in, and of course, a couple of other related repair knowledge ideas. So yes, I think I would go to the next slide. So my next slide will, I think the next one is just the outline. So my next slide will actually be talking about understanding the repair culture. And here, I would want to, I've already discussed that. So maybe you could go to the next slide. That was just the introduction. Next slide. Perfect. Nice. So here, I would love us to slightly understand the repair culture. So now, let's commence actually our whole entire presentation here with understanding the concept of repair culture. So like for us in the refugee settlement, we look at repair culture is a very societal approach that places value on repairing and preserving rather than actually discarding and replacing. Matthew talked about the fact that them as an organization, the CC4D, were able to push up the notion of actually preserving than actually discarding. But to me, I'm not looking at actually here. There's an aspect of the physical part whereby we talk about repairing physical things, repairing quite a number of components and things that actually we have. But I'm looking at, first of all, in the context of a mindset. So I look at repair, it's a mindset that actually encourages us to extend the lifespan of our possessions, to reduce waste, and to promote sustainability. So some of us who are already here, we understand that concept. So when you come in the refugee settlement, we have been having quite a number of this that is happening. And we look at the repair culture seeks actually to mend, not just material items, but also things like connections, relationships, and communities. Matthew gave a very amazing example of how repairs contribute play a very huge role in peace building. But the question is, how do these repair cultures actually play a huge role in the aspect of peace building? We look at how a simple repair, what does it actually do? Like people come together. There is how people understand that, okay, a simple mindset. If I can be able to repair or fix my lamp, that means this can be a start of a journey of how much me as a refugee can be able to fix something more than just a lamp. Why is this actually super important? Takes me to the next slide, which is talking about the resilience of actual different refugees. So now, when you look at actually the focus of this, like communities like refugee settlements, they actually face numerous challenges, which include like things like displacement, things like trauma, and often things like, tasks that are going to take them to adapt to a very new culture and environment. But when time goes on, there's a way that they have to overcome that. But when you understand the aspect of overcoming even issues around that, there has to be a complete shift of mind. There has to be a complete aspect of how best they can be able to move over from one particular situation to another. How do they fix that? How do they respond to the responsibility of, okay, we have to fix this? There's an entire mindset, which actually the repair cultures have been able to fix. The aspect of, hey, this is a problem, and this problem deserves attention, and this problem deserves to be fixed, rather than the problem to be discarded. there's actually an ability of this can be fixed. How do we fix this? We come together as communities, just like what CC4D has been doing. Come together, let's think of how best do we fix this light? How best do we fix this radio? How do we fix this watch? Just the ability that they can be able to start that journey of fixing and maintaining something, it's way beyond of how much they can even start fixing their lives. These are instances where we have already begun seeing in the refugee settlement, and which actually causes a very huge aspect of how best we can improve. Next slide. Yeah, so yeah, this is what I've actually been talking about, the aspect of the ability to be able to move. The next slide here that I will be talking about is actually how do we connect repair culture with refugee settlement? So like, how does the instance of a repair culture connect with the refugee settlement? So this connection actually lies in very shared values and principles that are underpin the both, you know? So like, for instance, you know, refugees, much like individuals in repair cultures, they often demonstrate like resourcefulness, you know, resilience, and a deep sense of community. And that's exactly what happens. So like right now we are on this call, we're from different communities. The aspect that and that shared value of community is something that we see a lot that is so connecting, that also it is not only within the repair culture that we have, that we can see right now that we have like different maintainers from different particular places are working together to a particular cause. That is the same shared value that we are seeing actually evident within the refugee settlement that the repair culture is trying to bring. And that's how essential disaster is. And we look at repair cultures, they find ways like to mend what has been broken, you know, to build their lives, you know, and to support one another in times of need. Like right now, we look at how best, if somebody learned a skill during one of the repair cafes that is happening in the settlement, this person now has the ability to be able to go and now fix one of the problems or a hardware of a fellow neighbor, a fellow refugee settlement. The more they do that, the more there is a notion of resourcefulness that people can see that, okay, actually my neighbor can be able to do this. That is a start of very hardcore conversations of how best can we be helpful to each other. Now, you realize that actually, as what I was saying from the beginning, my aspect of how I'm looking at repair cultures is not actually connected. It's more than just repairing something. It's a mindset. It's a state of creating change from another aspect. And this is, if you're really trying to get me, this is exactly what this is what we're trying to see. And this is what amazing repair cultures like what Mathew and CC4D and probably in the network that I am in, that is the AskNet network that also Mathew is in, is trying to actually preach. But as we are looking at this, we see that they're like, maybe the next slide, we look at different benefits of some of these repair cultures. We are looking at the aspect of integration, you know, we're looking at actually fostering resourcefulness, like what I've said. We're looking at sustainability, which actually comes into the aspect of both people environmentally, but we also look at social cohesion, like how do people actually are able to sustain relationships, but also even to sustain some of the equipments they have to even go longer to like bar issues like e-waste and also other wastes that actually exist in the communities. So we look at community bonding, you know, these programs can actually enhance the well-being of refugees, you know, by promoting things like environmental sustainability, sustainable practices, and also to empower individuals to be able to become active contributors to their host communities. So we have realized there are actually issues like, for instance, in Uganda, whereby there are some issues between the refugees and the host communities, but finding something in common, like a repair, that they can all come together and work on one thing, sometimes makes them to actually forget about their differences. And this has been something that has actually been evident, and we have seen different people coming together and bravo to all the different repair cafes happening actually in the refugee settlement. But within these amazing good things, you know, there are so many amazing things that I'm speaking about of what actually the instance of repair cafe is. We're looking at very deep challenges that are actually existing. And like, it's important to sometimes to acknowledge that integration of repair cafes into refugee settlement is not actually without challenges. So things like cultural differences. So we have people who don't easily want to meet up with other different people. Like when you look at the refugee settlement, the war that happened in South Sudan that brought so many people has been so tribal. So it's like, okay, what about tribe A is in the repair cafe? Do I need to be there? You know, there are issues like that. We have like things like varying needs, you know, a couple of things like that. But also one huge challenge is in the area of gender representation. We have seen there have been very few women taking part in these repair cafes, but we are looking super happy that the different repairs cafes that are existing are able to come in and by that challenge actually being by involving more women, or maybe actually repairing things that women in the refugee settlement, the context are actually can easily associate with. Last time I came to see that Mathew and the team were actually repairing saucepans and stuff, which is it's just amazing. So it's like things that they find so connecting to themselves and how best they can ever to get this. So in my conclusion out of this is that the essence of a repair culture actually carries with it like potential to create more sustainable, resilient, and inclusive communities. Especially like in the refugee settlements. And as we explore actually some of these fascinating topics today, we should remember that our collective efforts in this field actually has the power to transform lives, to reduce waste, but also to strengthen networks and connections in different diverse communities. And one thing I could say also, there's a very huge power of networks within this. Like I'm super excited that there's the maintainers. We have like networks like AskNet that are key in supporting initiatives like this, and even go on in supporting local initiatives like CC4D, or even different individuals that are pushing hard to see that the repair culture is more relevant in different communities. Otherwise, thank you so much. I'm Romeo, and I can be open for any questions and answers and whatever. Otherwise, super excited to have been here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Romeo. That was beautiful. I'm really glad it worked out with our slides, and I will be passing it over to Purna next. So I'm going to remove your spotlight and add yours, Purna. Thank you again. And just let me know if you want me to share the slides.
Yes, I want.
Okay, yes. Great.
Thank you.
Of course. Let me just get that pulled up very quickly. And thank you again, everyone, for being here. I think that I'm speaking for the audience, just sharing like how inspiring this already is and making me really think about, yeah, Romeo, thank you for sharing about the role of repairing relationships through repairing something together. I think that that is feeling very poignant to me. Okay, and let me go slideshow. Okay. Great. Thanks for your patience, everyone. Again, I think we're good here if that was the same process, but if I can just get a yes from you, Purna.
Yeah, but if you, is it possible to do slideshow? Because it's only pictures, so. Yeah, thank you. So everybody, namaste. And thank you, Mathew. Thank you, Romeo. And thank you, Lilian. I really quite excited to experience, to share what. Oh, by the way, am I audible first? Am I audible? Okay, thanks. So there's one word which comes in my mind when I just hear Romeo's presentation, and it says cohesion, it says community. So I think this is the same thing which comes here also in India when we organize repair workshops. But today I'm not going to focus on that, but I'm going to focus on the other aspect of India as a nation and my experience. While doing repair cafe workshops, I was also experiencing what is the culture that we have in India. And actually, I grew up in that culture, but somehow I think after doing these workshops, I have been able to closely relate things in my life. So today in this presentation, I'll be sharing, there are 4 parts of it. The first part would be where I'll be talking about briefly about the repair cultures in households. The second part would be I'll be talking about the repair business scenario in India. And the third part would be the spin-off businesses from the repair businesses and how they are all flourishing equally. And the fourth would be the participation of women in repair businesses, which I was also, being a woman myself, I was also very interested to find out what is their role. And so I'll be sharing with you. So here is you can see a repair. So this photo represents a repair shop, a small shop in a hole kind of a thing. And this is an old neighborhood of Bengaluru, which is called Yashwantpur. And this person is there for the last 20-25 years. And as you can, as it's very, as it is seen in the photograph itself, that there are old swing machines. So he is one of the repair persons which we have discovered through our repair networks, and we are regularly going to him to help others, and also if anybody needs to repair their swing machines. So can I, Lilian, may I have my next slide, please? Yeah. So when we did our Tinker Kinder program, so Tinker Kinder program is a online children's program that we do every summers for children. And it's all about home maintenance. So we wanted to check with children like what type of tools they have, if they have tools at all. So as it's very evident in the photograph, that there is this child who is sitting with his kit. So he has a sewing kit. He has all the things that he is ready for mending. And there are other children who have shared their tools. So one of the tools, as you can see, as is mentioned in the photograph, is the hammer and pipe wrench and things like that. So these are the tools which all the children will have has in their homes. So we were not surprised, but we were quite satisfied and quite happy that they have some tools at home. So it is not a new subject for them. And in India, in the cities, so this is a scenario from the cities, because we were not dealing with the village children. It's only the urban children that we were dealing in this program. And we were quite happy to see that the culture of repair, culture of tools, toolbox is still there. So toolbox essentially is a representation of repairs in our household. So we already, all the households mostly will have a toolbox and a sewing kit. So in their homes, with their limited time, they would be doing some bit of a repair, which is necessary for the survival. So this is the scenario that we started with. Yeah. So Lilian, may I have the next sheet? Yeah. So repair scenario, repair businesses in India. So repair businesses are omnipresent, ubiquitous in India. When I say omnipresent, I mean to say you can see them on the streets, you can see in shops, you can also, so in this photograph, you can, there are 4 alteration tailors who are sitting with their umbrellas on, because they're sitting in the sun, and this is along the wall of a shed, of a factory shed maybe. And they are sitting on a street which is a very, very busy street. So in India, repair you can see everywhere, because this is all comprises of mostly informal employment and very less of formal employment. But this is in fact, in the business sector, they don't differentiate formal or informal. They exchange and work together. So when I say informal, I mean to say they are out of taxation nets, most of them. They don't have any social security. They have very limited means to an education to pursue their careers. So with very less or a very small duration they spend on trainings, and with very few resources they start their business. They start with the help of their relatives, with their uncles, aunties, family, friends, like that they start, and that's how they get into it. And this business is also very challenging because it is ever changing. As you can see, as is evident in this picture, that there are 4 tailors. Now these tailors are from, they are sitting in Bangalore, in again a very old old area of Bangalore called Yashwantpur. But they have actually migrated from another city, and they are from a community which is into tailoring. So with the times changing, they have found a new business means, which is called alterations. Now you'll be surprised to know that this alteration business, which is actually altering of clothes, is growing over the years, and this is a new kind of business that they found and they discovered, and this is actually growing parallelly with the garment industry, because everybody buying clothes, they are not custom suit to their needs, so they have to automatically come to these tailors. So here in Bangalore, I have seen this sitting on the street, even in Ahmedabad. So when I say Ahmedabad and Bangalore, these are the two major cities which supports garment industry. So I have seen that along with the garment industry, along with the manufacturing, the repair also exists along with it. So wherever more manufacturing happens, there only the repair and ancillary and everything will also exist. So so this is very, very evident. This is and alteration tailors, I have actually observed only one place, but later on I came to know that they are actually sitting all across the cities like this, in hubs, in individually, and things like that. So may I go to the next slide, Lillian? Yeah. So the spin-off business. So when I say the spin-off businesses, which comes from these repair and of course garment also, I'm not saying it is only coming from the repair, but these are old. In the picture, it is shown some old 40-50-year-old sewing machines, which are being used heavily in the market. They're being used by repair people, repair businesses. They are being used by garment industry, and these machines are quite good and they are repairable. So even the repair, even the spin-off repair businesses which comes from the main repair business also sit in the same area, and this is I have discovered in Yashwantpur, where I have mentioned. So I am basically following the story of one marketplace. So they serve repairing and sourcing of old and new machines, and these people actually, they don't buy, most of them, they don't buy new machines, they buy old machines, and these are mostly very, very old machines. May I have the next slide, please? Yeah, there's another spin-off business which I have observed in Ahmedabad. Now, this is scissors, as you can see. So in Hindi, we call it as katar, and I think in Gujarati, it's called as katar. So this is another business which exists. So these scissors, which are very, very essential to the tailoring or alteration or any repair, upcycling business, these professionals, they come to service their scissors to these places. So in this picture, there are about 5 shops in a row, and this whole street, mostly they are serving to this scissors maintenance, service center kind of setup. But these are again very informal setup, but people know, and many people from across the city, they come to these places to get there. Of course, they are also being there are other people also must be approaching them, like the people who are in the hotel industry and others. But I think what I have interviewed, most of the people, they are from the repair or the garment industry. So this is another business which comes out of the main repair business. Lillian, may I have the next slide, please? Yeah. So what is the role of the women? So here, why I have taken this particular garment, or I can say the repair businesses or alteration tailoring businesses, why I have taken, because I have witnessed most of the women, like more than 40% of the women workers who are actually entrepreneurs in their own right, they are employed in this sector, and they work both inside as well as outside. When I say inside, they work in groups in a setup. Like this is an NGO. This photo is taken where 3 women are working, and this is basically an NGO which serves upcycling. So these people, they work together. So women prefer to work with each other, because that is how they share their issues, and they are more comfortable. But even in the in Ahmedabad city, I have seen women are working even outside on the street. But there are other things also where I have witnessed few women who are also engaged with their partners, with their husbands, with their families. So as is shown, that there's a lady who is servicing a mixie, Then there is one lady who is into cobbling and shoe repairs. There's one lady who is into shoe recycling. Shoe recycling is one business in Bangalore where you can see find maximum women participation in there. And then there is one lady who is servicing the laptops. So, so these are the women who are working in the informal sector, and they are all fully gainfully employed. May I have the next slide? Yeah. So I'll just, I have come to the end of my presentation, and I would like to say that on 24th of September, we have a repair workshop in Mumbai, and I would request you to please join and encourage our work, and please be with us, because this is first of its kind in Mumbai. So yeah, Lilian, may I have the next slide, please? So at the end of the day, I would like to, at the end of my presentation, I would like to thank all the volunteers. So these are the photographs from the two different cities. I'm now talking about the repair cafe, or the repair workshop, which we do in India. And this is one from Bangalore and one from Hyderabad. And only the volunteers who have made it possible to do it in, in India and in cities. So thank you to them for their contribution. Thank you, everybody, for listening to me. And if you have any questions, you can write in the chat box or ask me. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Purna. That was amazing. And I hope you have a great first repair cafe in Mumbai. That's wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amazing. So next up, I feel like we just have such an abundance of knowledge with us. I feel so grateful. I'm going to be sharing a video from Moretta, who is from Australia. So just a moment as we get that aspect started up as well. And again, we'll have time for questions and answers in the chat, and I will be sending out this recording as well as a way that you can get in touch with all of the speakers. So just one moment and we'll play the video. Can people hear and see this?
We can see it, but not hear it yet.
Okay, thanks, Lauren. Let me optimize for sound. I think that I need to do that. All right.
Good morning. My name is Moretta and I live a couple of hours east of Perth in Western Australia. I'd like to share my experiences and thoughts on the Repair Cafe model. The Repair Cafe concept has been interpreted by many people all around Australia. Challenges have come from having no agreed upon format or guidelines. There is confusion. Each group will define it as they see fit. People ask, what is the Repair Cafe? It can be difficult to identify what it means. The not-for-profit and volunteer model in Australia has low government regulation. It is another area that is open to individual interpretation. In my own town, people with new ideas keep quiet. When a group sees the vision and comes together, there is usually resistance. The same people stand in solidarity and either block the way for other groups or rally and push in front for their own ideas. Personalities rule. Repair and care for the community is love. And if the well of love and trust is bone dry, how do we have a chance at repairing and growing together? We have concrete evidence that a top-down approach to a community group ensures its failure. It is clear that there is, for some people, an addiction to government grants, committees, fundraising with little or no appetite for rigorous measurement of cost versus value. There is active disagreement between repair groups on everything. Rogue repairers who don't respect the status quo open the door to restrictive government regulation. Groups alienate the professional person who is a local. An amateur repairer does not have to prove their skill level, charges nothing, and the livelihood, skill, and experience of professionals is devalued. These include the seamstress, electrician, engineer, cobbler, computer tech guy. What does it add to our society to alienate the small businesses that are skilled and already supporting the community? The professional is regulated by the consumer laws in our country. He pays insurance to cover his work. He has experience and continues to update his skills. What is the risk involved to an individual signing an insurance waiver and putting their possession into the hands of an amateur repairer? Insurers will not insure the work of amateur repairers. No group can guarantee the quality of work being done on people's possessions, and these people probably don't know each other. This arrangement, heralded as success by some, actually sits the repair cafe model on the edge of disaster. It seems that it is only a matter of time before an amateur repair becomes a dispute taken to court. Better scenario: repairs using home-making skills, life skills, being worked together. The owner being aware of risk and being able to make decisions during the process. Both parties able to learn skills as they carry out the work. This is the Repair Cafe event that has low risk, low cost, maximum benefit. In my experience, repair cafes should be bottom-up organised groups. The local group should be free to identify the need and the response. In a perfect world, the only manual needed springs from the personal relationship and common sense. But in a world where common sense is becoming scarce, more detailed guidelines are necessary to ensure understanding and smooth operations. The successful repair cafe is one that nurtures human relationship. It is a group of open-minded people, a collaboration of locals. There is familiarity, trust. The group will naturally prune itself, and people will be at ease in what they give and receive. New people will be seen as potential friends, never as potential to be exploited. Though repair groups may face struggles and setbacks, there is hope for a growing, successful repair community. As we seek out new information and new friendships, we create new micro-communities from which the next generation of repairers might be found. The spirit of try again isn't lost, and even though we may have a way to go before we have a perfect repair cafe model, the seeds have been planted in communities across the world.
Thank you so much to Moretta for sharing this video with us. Yeah, that was a wonderful framework for us to be thinking about and to be as a part of the conversation. So next up, again, this is our last speaker. We're so grateful for Romeo, Purna, Moretta, Matthew, and next is James. I will spotlight you. And let me know if you need anything with the screen sharing, but we're ready to hear from you when you're ready.
Wonderful. Perfect. Can everybody hear me okay? I'll assume that's a yes. Hi everybody, I'm James from the Restart Project. It's a real honor to be here, so huge thank you to Matthew for the generous invitation. And it's been wonderful hearing everybody else speak so eloquently about repair culture in their work and in their communities. It's part of the privilege of coming after so many wonderful speakers that much of what I have to say probably will be somewhat of a repetition, but in and of itself, that may be interesting. Yeah, I'm delighted to speak to you today about the Restart Project, who we are, what we do, how we understand repair culture, where we work, and our work to support repair culture across the communities that we operate in. At Restart, we like to say, don't despair, just repair. And for us, this is really at the heart of what makes repair so powerful and so urgent, and kind of the heart of repair cultures and communities that we help to facilitate and nurture. So we're based in the UK, and we mostly work in the UK and across Europe, with some links to other groups or networks around the world. But we were born about 11 years ago from a sense of frustration with our gadgets here in Europe, and I'm sure in many other places around the world. We are suspicious of the future we are being sold. I don't know if you've seen the film WALL-E on the slide in front of us, but often it seems the future we are being sold is too similar to that kind of dystopian picture painted in this film of a kind of a waste-covered planet that humans have abandoned and abdicated any responsibility to be absorbed completely into a world of shiny new gadgets. If you haven't seen WALL-E, by the way, it's a phenomenal example of sociological storytelling, and I'd highly recommend it. But that aside, we don't really want a future like WALL-E. And a big part of this is that we always feel, or often feel, really frustrated with the products that we are sold. So I'm sure we've all had experiences of a printer that doesn't work, or a cracked phone screen that costs too much to replace. And I'm pretty sure we'll all have experienced something like that at some point, products that break before their time, and it being too difficult to fix them. And in fact, too often we're encouraged to simply replace a product rather than repair it. And of course, as Mathew touched on earlier, and as others, Romeo and others have too, this is driving huge problems, the most obvious of which is e-waste, which is still the fastest growing waste stream in the world. In Europe, we're particularly bad at producing e-waste. You can see from this chart that in the UK, where we do most of our work, the UK is the second highest producer of e-waste per capita in the world. But if you look at the other countries there, you'll see that there is a kind of a European, or at least kind of quote unquote Western problem in particular with e-waste. And of course, e-waste is often toxic and can often leach toxic chemicals into the ecosystems, food chains, and water supplies, where it ends up, and that's often in the global south. But perhaps just as problematically, or even more so, are the hidden impacts that are associated with many of the products that we use, particularly electronics and electrical products, but also clothing. So the majority of the environmental impact of the products that we buy tends to occur before that product has ever been used for the first time. For a smartphone, 80% of all the carbon emissions that phone will ever produce occur before it's even switched on by its first user. And globally speaking, the extraction of resources, manufacturing, transportation of these resources for new products makes up about 50% of global carbon emissions. So it's a huge industry and a huge problem driven by the consumption of new, shiny products that we buy instead of repairing, at least in part. And of course, it's not just CO2 emissions that are the problem, from kind of land rights to workers' rights. There are all kinds of issues that these industrial processes generate across the world, and again, particularly in the global south. If you think about lithium mining in Argentina or cobalt mining in the Congo, you kind of get the idea. I won't spend too much longer on environmental impacts today, but I thought it was important to share this just to give some context as to our motivation at Restart, and I think the motivation of a lot of repairers and repair communities, and indeed repair cultures around the world, and particularly those that we work in. If you'd like to learn a bit more about this, you can visit the URL materialsmatter.eu on the slide for kind of an interactive journey of a smartphone. There's a bit more information about this. But for us, this is why repair matters. So by using products for longer, by repairing them when they break, we can slow down these industrial processes. We can use fewer raw materials, reduce our emissions, and rein in some of these destructive impacts that occur around the world. And of course, that brings us back to our theme today, about the essence of repair culture. But I kind of want to ask, what is repair culture in a way? Because I'm sure we've already heard lots of different ideas around this today, and all of them are perfectly valid. And I think one key answer is that repair culture might differ from place to place. And certainly touching on Marita's video that we just watched, I think there's an important aspect of localism when talking about repair culture, because it will change from place to place. And certainly as an organization that works with different communities in different countries, this is something that we see every day. But for the purposes of today, I'm going to focus mostly on our experiences here in Europe. So 11 years ago, our two co-founders, Ugo and Janet, ran the first ever Restart party, which is very similar to a repair cafe. So where we invited members of the public, local community, to come along to a pub in London with their broken devices and learn how to fix them with some expert volunteer repairers. Really get their hands in, take off, the mystique and the magic of these products, and really get a sense of how they work and how they can be repaired. For us, it was a kind of joyful way as a community to push back against some of the wasteful and environmentally destructive consumerism that we want to kind of react against. But this idea didn't come from a vacuum. And it's interesting that both Ugo and Janet, our two co-founders, were inspired by time they had spent living outside of Europe, particularly in places like Kenya, Mozambique, and East Timor, where, unlike the UK, there were still very rich, thriving cultures of repair, where the default response to a broken product is to get it fixed, not buy a new one. And so through these original repair events, they wanted to bring back some of this rich repair culture that they had experienced elsewhere into the UK, where largely it had been lost over time. And so that really has been a guiding principle for us ever since, is how can we restore repair culture to the UK, to other European countries, at a time when repair skills are being lost as older generations move out, and as repair businesses also are reduced in number and in variety. We're seeing huge challenges to repair culture, particularly in the UK and Europe, where the culture isn't as strong as perhaps it once was. We realized, of course, through running these events, which we still run in collaboration with other groups around the world, that restoring repair culture was more challenging and more difficult than simply running community events and bringing people together. While a crucial part of restoring repair culture, we encountered many more structural barriers to establishing repair culture. And I want to touch on some of those today. So we've created a kind of vision of what a repair culture, at least in a European context, might look like. So this is our vision. We imagine a future where repair culture is a rich, multifaceted aspect of our lives. So it's shaped by a lot of factors, from awareness and behaviors. So do people repair by default when something breaks, or do they throw something away? What about education? We want to see repair taught in schools to help build these skills from a young age. We need legislation because products are getting increasingly hard to fix, especially when it comes to electronics. So we need laws to make sure that we can access spare parts and documentation, and that products are designed to be fixed in the first place. Economic factors are also important. We are losing repair businesses left, right, and center because products aren't designed for repair, and it's simply not, quote unquote, economically viable to fix a lot of the products that we use, particularly things like kettles or toasters. There are no commercial solutions right now for these in most communities in Europe. So there are a bunch of points on the slide in front of us, and this is what we see as each element is core to building a repair culture, a multifaceted, holistic repair culture that addresses many of the challenges that we currently see. And so in order to try and achieve this, we divide our work across three main areas, which are kind of access to repair. So we run community repair events still, and we now have a network of around 40 groups in London, and we run a network beyond London of a few hundred different repair groups around the world, I think around 600 at the moment, through us and the partner organizations that we work with. as well as running different types of events, training courses, and so on, just to help people find local repair options where they live, on their local high street, in the local community centre, wherever then that might be. The second point is to try and fix the system itself. As I mentioned, products are getting harder and harder to fix in many areas. And unless we can secure changes in the way products are produced in the first place, this trend is likely to continue and make repair more and more difficult and less economically viable for repair businesses, but also for communities and DIY repairers themselves. So campaigning for legislative change is a huge part of our work. And finally, neither of those two work unless we also promote attitude and behavioral change, unless people are willing to repair rather than throw away. So we put a lot of work into trying to make repair the norm through various communication activities and so on. I'll touch briefly on each of these, but I'm more than happy to answer questions about these in more depth later on. So starting with access to repair. In a European context, actually getting access to local repair options isn't always straightforward. I've already mentioned that repair businesses are often disappearing in many high streets, particularly for things like small electricals. I think a lot of people from an older generation may remember those amazing high street shops where you could buy a spare part for pretty much anything, or your local repairer that could fix anything and make a living from it. That is no longer the case for a lot of the products that we see. There are many options for things like tablets or smartphones or laptops, but less so for your kettles or your hair straighteners, for example. We're also seeing repair skills being lost in many of our communities. Certainly in the UK, where there is a tradition of make, do, and mend, we find that many of the repair skills, particularly around electronics, but also clothing and other areas, are often concentrated in older generations. And so unless we bring younger people into the world of repair, we risk losing a lot of these valuable skills over time. And so making sure that people can access repair, both in a practical sense and also in a kind of local sense, is really important. The main way we do this, as I've mentioned, is running community repair events. We call them restart parties, others call them repair cafes, and there are a myriad of models, as we've already heard, for these types of events. We don't believe there is a single model for every single community, so we adapt these models wherever we work. So every community runs it a little bit differently, but we support groups in London, the UK, and beyond to run these types of events. So I think across our network at the moment, we've run around 6,000 or so events in order to bring in as many local people as possible, to share those skills, to celebrate, and as many people have mentioned, to build that sense of community by bringing people together from disparate walks of life. It's a fantastic way to help people meet people they wouldn't have otherwise, and really build a relationship around a very practical and worthwhile activity. As others have mentioned, so Mathew, for example, and Purna in particular, we do find that most of our repairers, particularly when we're talking about electronics, tend to be male. And we're aware there are some quite powerful structural factors behind this that we are trying to work against. So as an example of this, just quickly, we run a different type of event called Rosie the Restarter events. And these are skill sharing sessions, specifically for women and non-binary people who may feel uncomfortable or less confident perhaps in a standard repair community setting, particularly around electronics repair, than a man. And so we run these sessions to help skill up women and non-binary people, help them build those relationships, a sense of community themselves, and most importantly, build confidence to try and address the kind of skewed balance that we do often see around the UK and Europe, actually. And I think from what I've heard, it seems to be a fairly universal thing, with some obviously notable exceptions. But obviously running local community events isn't always accessible to all people, especially kind of more advanced practices that particularly some community repair groups might want to engage with. So as well as activity offline, we've also created a platform for community repairers and community organizers online called restarters.net. And Restarters is a place for community repairers, organizers, it's my bad, to coordinate, to measure their impact, to share tips, so best practices or share stories and experience, and a chance to showcase their events and publicize them through various channels. And the idea of this is to build out a sense of community from the hyperlocal, which is the fundamental building block, into something broader and wider, and perhaps with a more powerful voice collectively. And so you can see some stats at the top of the screen here. So together we've held around 6,500 events. We've repaired about 35,000 different items, and we've prevented over 1 million kilograms of CO2 so far across the whole network, which is phenomenal. And of course, we're only able to demonstrate the scope of the repair movement because we are coming together in this way just to share these stories and experiences. And it means that together we can really demonstrate popularity, the power of community repair in particular around the world, which is particularly handy, as I'll come to later, when we're talking to policymakers or to funders or to others who might be allies to the movement if only we can demonstrate the impact that we're having. Finally, I also wanted to touch on fixing factories. So this is a new project that we're running. We're aware, even in Europe, that digital access is a real problem for many. The technology that we rely on is increasingly vital to full participation in society, and yet not everyone can afford, a laptop or even sometimes a smartphone or the data that comes with it. And so we've opened a couple of semi-permanent repair spaces in London, where we take donations of technology that people no longer want or that are broken. We fix them up and then we donate them out to the local community to make sure everyone can start accessing the kinds of technologies that are becoming increasingly fundamental to living in modern society, particularly in the UK and in Europe. So I just wanted to touch on that as an alternative model to kind of pop-up events, because we strongly believe at Restart that we need a plethora of different solutions in every local community to appeal to as many people as possible. And where I'm running out of time a little bit, so I'll make the rest of it very quick. But I did want to touch on fixing the system first of all. So I've mentioned that the products we're seeing at events are getting harder to fix. And we know this because at many of the events that we run and support, we collect information about the broken products that we see. And together with partners in the Open Repair Alliance that we co-founded, we've collected data on about 100,000 repairs from around the world. And from this data, we can work out what is going wrong with our products, why are they breaking so quickly, and what could be done to make them more durable and more repairable going forward. And this has had some success recently. So a few years ago, we co-founded the European Right to Repair campaign, which is now expanded to over 100 members in 21 countries. And we're delighted to say that just a couple of weeks ago, the EU passed some brand new legislation that we helped shape, which from 2025 will ensure that smartphones and tablets will be easier to fix. So they'll have 5 years of software support, for example. The batteries will have to be user replaceable, just to name a couple of examples. But this campaign is only really possible because we are coming together as an international network of repair, and we are collecting data from our events around the world to really demonstrate to policymakers that repair matters, it's popular, it's important, and can make a fundamental difference to the way that we consume and use the products that we buy. I can answer more questions about this perhaps later on, but for now I'll plow on. So the third pillar, as I mentioned earlier, is changing how people think. So I mentioned that repair culture has often been lost in the UK. Our first instinct is often to throw something away and buy a new one instead of fix it and keep it going for longer. And so we need to change the way that people behave and change attitudes towards broken products and repair in particular. One thing that I wanted to flag for everyone here is that International Repair Day is coming up this October, on the 21st of October. And this is a global celebration of repair where community repairers, repair businesses, DIY repairers, and anyone who's passionate about keeping things in use for longer, and as repair is a means of bringing people together, we encourage you to join in and celebrate this day with us and others from our network and other networks around the world. So please put the date in your calendar, 21st of December. And if you want more information, you can find that at repairday.org. So I'll wrap up there, but I'm happy to take any more questions afterwards. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. This was such a wonderful roundup of different speakers and different perspectives from all around the world. I think unfortunately we lost Mathew. And so on his behalf, I want to extend a very big thank you to James, Purna, Maretta, and Romeo. And why don't we, for the next 8 minutes or so, open up for questions? We can do this either by unmuting or by putting into the chat, and we'll begin just collectively answering and discussing some questions that may have arisen during this time. Thank you again so much to James, Romeo, Purna, and Maretta, and Mathew, wherever he is in the Zoom world. And I think actually to start, this can be for any of our speakers, but we have a question from Brian. Just looking on the website, is there a wiki or equivalent to the record of ongoing best practices and or learnings or past events and meetings? It seems like some of these might be buried in the blog post. Oh, I think this is about the maintainers. Yes, right now our setup of the website, that there's a lot of events in the blog posts, but you can also go to the events and there's a record of the past events that we posted as well as the upcoming events. And I can pass it to Lauren if she has anything else to share, my colleague, about other events from the maintainers.
Yes, I think that captures everything. But something to add is that after the events, Liliana always shares a synthesis. So keep posted for that. They're very helpful, and it's kind of a way to see what the questions are emerging. And as James mentioned, that there's a lot of commonalities happen. So it's another place to find learnings.
A question that I had for the speakers is that I felt like each of you touched upon the importance of education and culture shifting from a young age. And I'm curious if any of you have anything else to share about education of repair practices. Yeah, Purna.
Yeah, so we have been dealing with this thing in our format in Bangalore. What we found is that in the education system, we used to have something on practical skills, which is called SUPW. And this is totally, slowly, it has become a passe because the whole focus has gone into theoretical exams, and people have stopped focusing on that. So that whole class, that whole format was lost. And in the new education policy, again, they are trying to bring it in the new form. Our children here in India, what we have observed is that depending on their surroundings, like if they're faced with the culture of repair around them, children from humble backgrounds, they're very, very good with hand skills. Or children who are out of the regular education, they are also quite exposed to hand skills. But rest of the children are really struggling. It is not that they don't want to know, but I think the avenues are very less. So one of the thing is that we want to focus here in India is actually on education. And this is purely theoretical, purely practical, and we have actually done a lot of catharsis in ourselves because we all are products of theoretical education. So for us, coming out of this and then educating them was very, very tough. So we face this challenge, and hopefully it will improve. Thank you.
There are any other questions that anyone has? We have time for maybe one or two more.
I saw a quick question from Chris Fantha in the chat about how do we demonstrate impact to policymakers? Is it generally quantitative, or do they respond better to qualitative or anecdotal evidence? So I'm happy to answer that briefly yeah. Thanks for the question. Yeah, it's a really good one. We find generally, for the purposes of policy, quantitative data tends to be more useful. Repair stories are powerful, absolutely, but particularly in a kind of an EU context, unless you've kind of got significant numbers behind that story, it's harder to kind of get that message across. And so we do try to produce quantitative data where possible. If you're interested in learning more, there's a bit more information on that we wrote on the Open Repair website, link in the chat, that kind of explains how we collect the data and briefly touches on how we then use that data in a policy context. And if you'd like to learn more about campaigning, you can head to repair.eu for a bit more information on that. But yeah, just a brief answer to that question. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. That's awesome. I appreciate the links.
Moretta also has something to share about this.
I just feel in our country, in Australia, we have just such an oversupply of goods. And we also suffer from having pretty low quality in most of the goods that are available that people reach for. So I'm thinking that, well, all across the world, but in Australia, even though we appear to be a resource-rich country, I think what we're lacking is actually a little bit of family and community connection. And I've found that the communities that have a sports club or have a bike track or something that gets people outside and gets people together, it's more like reuniting the family group and I don't know, the ideas of the older generations, even if that's just parents who are in their 40s, has the chance to spread and to be spoken about. We have lots of opportunities to vote for our representatives here. And even though people are doing a great job taking information to the government, the government here works pretty closely with the businesses who they encouraged about 30 years ago to take a lot of manufacturing, for example, out of our country, to a great extent, like a lot, like we've got nearly none. So what am I saying? I don't know how far we're going to get in the short term with Australia's government. I do praise the people who are lobbying them and keeping this in front of them. But I still have a lot of faith in relationship. And I just think that today I met another man in Victoria who's called the Bookman, and he's been saving books, including repair books, including, history books and nature books. He's saving books out of landfill. We have people who are really interested in consumer, what do we call it? Post-consumer materials. So paper makers for artists who are recycling frames, but in a really professional, beautiful way. So I feel like, even though it's important to talk to the government, I think where we are resource rich and where we have the, we have the privilege of, an education system like ours and a voting system. I think the best thing ever is relationship between people, connecting people who have a passion to see the value in the material resources that we have. and then that hopefully will translate into voting. I think for a lot of areas of Australia, it'll actually be at the ballot box where we will have a say, and then I'm sure that will work together with the people who are lobbying the government as well. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maretta, and thank you all so much for joining us this morning, afternoon, or evening, or late evening, or early morning. As Lauren had mentioned, we're going to be sending out this recording of the event, as well as a synthesis document, as well as different comments and resources and information that has been shared throughout this event, as well as in the resource document. And Mathew, I see that you are back. And so if you have anything else that you would like to share, we just want to give you a huge thank you for bringing us all together. And yeah, over to you, Mathew. And I will be sending resources and other opportunities for engagement with the maintainers and the fellowships in the future. And Mathew shares in the chat.
Hello. Yes, I'm really so sorry I got kicked out of the call due to network challenges. Here it went off for quite good minutes, but I'm happy to be back. Although I got up, the network came up when the meeting is about to get finished, but a huge round of appreciation to all the people who have joined us in today's call. I'm really so grateful, and I can't thank you guys enough. I'm so happy. It's so sad that I lost much of the conversation, the live conversation, but I'm hopefully that since the event has been recorded, I will go over and listen to it over and over again, and also to hear the insights that each and every one of you, has given in. I'm really super happy, and I feel good when we all come together to, join our hands like this. It's really so grateful. And especially such fellowships and such events are so good in a way that it brings out the voice of the people who are underrepresented. So it's really a huge opportunity for us as people who are still in the developing countries to get exposed, especially the work that we are doing. It's really a pleasure, to be in such a network of great people and with great minds. Just like our work that we've been doing, one thing that I would like to give a huge, appreciation, especially to the Restart Project. Yeah, they have been all behind our happiness and the struggles that we've been going through, especially the organization as CC4D to have been known like this. It is through the Restart Project, which is working globally and trying to connect communities, in different locations. So a huge round, of appreciation to them. One thing is that we got connected to the Restart Project through a Facebook page, a Facebook comment, which has materialized, and where we went forward and met physically with some of the team members of the Restart Project. And I'm also looking forward to meeting, you guys, if not all, but I guess with time, of course, we will meet with many of you in person. Also, a huge appreciation to Maretta from Australia, who has been also silently supporting us, especially with some fundings through her works, that the workshop floor activities that she has been doing. It's so amazing, receiving her support throughout. And also a number of people who have been supporting us financially and as well sharing our work in the different platforms, and not forgetting the maintenance was also wonderful, bringing us together like this, and as well considering the representation of underrepresented peoples for their voices to be heard. I'm really so grateful to each and everyone within this call and those who have not joined. And lastly, we are currently running a fundraising. It's a GoFundMe, which is aimed at celebrating the International Repair Day, which is coming up in October. So we intend to do the celebration on October 25th, between 24th and 25th. And we're still doing the crowdfunding. We hope that we meet our target, though at the moment we haven't met half of our target. But we hope that through this network of great people like you, would be able to help us donating or sharing within the network of people that are around you. So I'm really so much grateful for this networking event. Otherwise, thank you so much and super happy to meet you all.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Great, thank you. I'll catch the speaker baton, and just another gratitude to you, Matthew, because you are the one who wove us all together to have this conversation. And I think we all just feel your power and enthusiasm for this topic and how important it is. So thank you again. I will be sharing out links to all the resources that we have, links to the upcoming events from the maintainers, as well as from all of our speakers. If you have any questions or ideas, please respond to that email. We would love to be in touch with you. And with that, I'm going to stop recording.